Welcome to the FloTrack podcast. I'm here with my co-host Johnny Pace. He is live from Pace Studios. He was just here in Austin with all of us in the team at TRE, which we will be discussing throughout this podcast. We'll be talking all things TRE, all things products. We're about to have a really, really good time. For those of you who don't know what TRE is, it is the premier run retail conference and trade show. Each year, it attracts thousands of industry professionals seeking the latest in footwear, apparel, gear, and services. Johnny, how are you doing out there in New York? How's it feeling?
Hey, Nia, good to see you. Long time no see. It's good being back in New York, preparing for my move down to Austin. But yeah, giving Pace Studios one last show before I head down your way. But yeah, we had an amazing week. So much to talk about. And I'm kind of excited to share this with our audience who may not be familiar with what the mysterious TRE, what does that mean? What does that encompass? I'd love to hear first, like your perspective. This was your first time at the event. How was your time down there?
Yeah, TRE, the running event. I had so much fun. One of the biggest things I felt, obviously there is a ton of brands there, a ton of services there, a ton of things you learn, but above all, I felt this huge sense of community. The running community is so large, it's so welcoming, and it was just something that was super nice to be a part of, especially with FloTrack. We were all over the place, which we'll definitely be talking about today. We were really running and gunning, and it was a lot of early mornings, a lot of late nights, but I definitely wouldn't trade the experience for the world. How was your experience?
Yeah, amen. Well, this was my third time at TRE and my first time with FloTrack, and it really was a home game for us. And that was maybe one of the coolest parts of it was that FloTrack HQ was only 2 blocks from the Expo Center, so we were able to show up. We came out in full force, and I felt like we didn't miss a single moment of action, from the Expo Center to the races that were happening to all the runs and various events that were taking place around the city. I felt very proud to be a part of our new team, and just seeing how we were showing up and just how much we got to accomplish in 3 short days. Again, probably slept less than we needed, but I think we made up for it in fun. But I figured, why don't we just kind of take our audience day by day and kind of recap the different stuff that we got up to.
For sure. Let's start with Tuesday. We
That
had the
was
team together, Nike, and we had the Raw group runs. Yeah, long days after, again, like you were saying, everyone being in the office. I think probably my favorite of that day had to be the Raw group run because it kind of really encompassed what I was saying earlier about my favorite part about TRE, just that sense of togetherness. Everyone gathered around, everybody got like their Under Armour sweatshirts, ran to the destination, did a killer workout. I believe it was 3 sets, each like a mile and a half loop uphill. And depending on where you fell in your fitness level, you'd either do one of the loops, two of the loops, or all three. Even after the fact, regardless of whether you did one, if you sat and cheered, it's just a judgment-free zone, and it was just so nice, and it was just so welcoming. It was one of those things where it really would relieve any stress and anxiety that you may feel about running or just working out as a whole. Like, no, that's like a big collective thing where people want to do it, but they're so scared that they're not maybe at the level that they want to be or the level that they used to be or like the level that people around them may be in. So it just was like very much so a reassuring event. And it was just, again, I can't state enough, and I'm going to keep echoing something that it was just so nice to be a part of. And then also on top of that, the togetherness, because again, we were all finally in the same place.
right. And I think some cool components of that Raw run. I mean, our head honcho Ryan Fenton started that group 10 years ago. It's really like one of the original run clubs before it was cool, and it has blossomed into this massive, and I tell you, emphasize massive group. I don't know what the count was, but it was in the hundreds, that all show up. And the other neat thing was, like, they don't. It's not like a social run. It is, but it really their motto is to run as hard as you can, and that was definitely a cool thing to see. And I certainly had my work cut out for me. That workout, there was some hills that were like that, and so definitely got our workouts in for the day. I thought the other cool thing was that Under Armour, I believe, is a long term sponsor of that group, and for this run, they had all their professional athletes. I mean, I think they've had 10 or 15 out there to run with everybody, and I thought that was awesome. Seeing some familiar faces from the professional circuit out there. on Tuesday night.
No, definitely. I actually do think that was the largest turnout. I remember Ryan was saying to us, before the show started, the producer was saying that your name, Johnny Pace, sounds like a superhero name. And I told him, like, well, you come in all different shapes, forms, and sizes. You just got to catch him on the right day. So that day in particular, as we keep talking about Tuesday, we saw Johnny the runner. So could you explain how it was to run those loops? Because you were just talking about how uphill it was. How was it? How was it challenging? Were you at the fitness level you'd like to be? How was it? Like, you're running, just how was it?
Yeah, I think it was a wake up call that I need to incorporate a few more hills into my training routine. I am pretty spoiled in New York. I have a pancake flat West Side Highway trail here that I run most days, and so I think it made it blatantly obvious that if I'm moving down to Austin, I need to start working the hills in. But I just thought it was cool. The run club I lead here, a lot of the clubs I participate with in New York, it is about social and it's about having fun, and that there's definitely a huge place for that. But I really appreciated the different perspective that Raw brought, and just again seeing the enthusiasm that the members were having, and it was for something that Ryan Fenton, our head honcho, had created over a decade ago. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna. Long story short, have to start hitting the hills, especially if I'm going to be running the Austin half and Austin full next year.
No, it for sure was a nice icebreaker. But if it means anything, you guys all look good to me. So
Thank you.
Wednesday, we had the Nike run, the Puma run, and then we also had Julian Alfred and Jasmine Moore in the office. So I know you were able to go to the Nike run. I was at the Puma run. Could you talk to us a little bit about how that Nike run was like?
Absolutely. Although I think you had the earlier wake up call. I came into the Puma run about halfway through, but I think that was a pretty early start. But I knew they had a couple big names out there as well.
Yeah. Now Puma was fun. Puma was early, but Puma was very, very fun. When we went out there, we were greeted with coffee. We were greeted with tacos, and there was a bunch of Puma athletes out there as well. There was a bunch of Puma marketing reps too. And the biggest theme of the run was just to have fun. And everyone had a good time. Everybody, again, I always say this huge sense of togetherness, any pace. They literally welcomed any pace. They said verbatim, we want it to be something where, is it going to be you running your best, or is it going to be you going on a little hot girl walk? Regardless, just do it. I mean, no pun intended. Granted, this is Puma, not Nike. But that was super cool. We definitely saw some big names. I did just mention Jasmine Moore and Julian Alfred. They were also at the runs early that morning. And definitely, like, after you talk to us about the Nike run, we can get into how the conversations were here at Flow Sports
Oh yeah,
headquarters.
no, I'm dying to hear more about the experience in the HQ. But yeah, that photo that just flashed up was actually from the Nike run, and that was really neat because we had a good number of our team there. We had Dan and Demetra and myself, and we were previewing the new Vomero 18 as well as the Vomero 5, which is, I believe, like a reprint, as you might call it, of an earlier shoe that's come out maybe 20 years ago. And so Elise Cranny joined us. She got us fired up to start the day. Loved seeing her. And then just various members of the media and running community were there at that run. And again, it was neat to be able to just interact with other creatives in the space, other athletes like Elise, and just a good way to start the day, to be honest. And it kicked off what really I feel like was the core of like what we were doing at TRE, which was Wednesday and Thursday. And so we cleaned up, and then I think you and I both headed over to HQ for a very special set of VIPs, right?
Yeah, it was really nice. So like mentioned prior to, Julian Alfred and Jasmine Moore did stop by and pay us a visit at headquarters. And it was really nice. They are extremely talented, but also extremely humble individuals. They were both talking to me a little bit about their origin stories, where they are now, how life is post-Olympics. It was something that was really nice to be a part of and that you guys should check out. It's live now. Shameless plug. So yeah, the conversation definitely was super nice. And they even gave like a bit of insight of what they would tell their younger selves, and on top of viewers who aspired to be at their level. For those of you who don't know, Julian Alfred, she did win the 100 in this past Olympics, and she came second in the 200. And Jasmine Moore is a double bronze medalist in both the triple jump and the long jump. So yeah, extensive resumes. You can see that we definitely had some track and field royalty in here last week. And again, it just was a pleasure and an honor to get to talk to them.
We also had a pretty cool cross collab with Flo Cheer, which I love to see. Can you tell the
Yeah.
audience about that?
Yeah. I had no idea prior to that Jasmine Moore was just like this super athlete. She she was a huge cheerleader back in her day, and then she even did, I think they call it tuck check. And I was like, she was able to do it, and then come to find out, she still tumbles regularly, apparently like once a week. So I mean, I guess that makes sense as to how she has so much hops and bungees coming off of the board for triple and long jump. It all makes sense. It's all like the wheels are turning. It's all making sense.
Yeah. Well, I was watching the interview back before the show, and were there any key moments that you didn't touch on that stood out to you as favorites?
Say that one more time.
I was just watching the show back. Were there any moments or exchanges that really stuck with you?
Yeah, definitely when we kind of hit that human aspect of certain stuff, I asked both of them, when did they know they were standout talents? When did they know they were standout performers? And it just kind of had that it. And Julian had mentioned that, when she was racing the girls, but then more importantly, when she was racing the boys and winning. There's just certain moments and times as like an athlete that sticks with you where you're like, oh wait, I actually have this it and I can go far in this sport. Same with Jasmine. She was like, sports was a huge thing for her in Texas. We were just talking about her amazing athleticism with her talking with Flo Cheer, and with her also talking with us, and what she still does on a regular basis. So that stuff was really nice. It was also nice to see like just their life outside of track and field, like a human aspect to it. And it definitely, gives different perspectives on the athletes, because there definitely is more to life than running and the Olympics. And they were able to really exemplify that in our conversation.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't checked it out, definitely go give that a listen. It's a very great conversation. We're so happy to have them in the studio. But then I feel like after the studio show, really we got into the meat of TRE and what it's about, which is the convention and at the Expo Center. I'm hard to paint a picture, but I would say maybe imagine a marathon expo times 10, where every brand that's tangentially related to running seemed to be in that space. I don't know what the count was, but it was hundreds of brands out there on the floor, each kind of sharing their latest and greatest. And I think it was neat how FloTrack was able to show up. We've had a full crew. We brought in some extra production help and really made the rounds on the floor. But Nia, I'd love to hear, like, how was your experience kind of going booth to booth, speaking about the brands and learning more?
Yeah, my experience, again, this was I don't even know if I mentioned it prior to, but this was my first time at TRE. So I actually had no idea that it was going to be this high volume of different brands and products and testers and services. And I just think I underestimated how much track and field running just encompasses everything. So I was thinking when I came in there initially, it was going to be just a bunch of sneakers, a bunch of gear, but when I went in there, and I'll talk about this a little later, there were just services. Like, I want to definitely point out the Female Runner Safety Summit, where they were talking about certain stuff that are very valid. Like, a lot of issues have came up because, running, especially being a woman, it can be a little dangerous. And a lot of people like to run with their headphones in their ear. A lot of people like to run maybe at night or early morning, and it can be somewhat of a safety concern. So they do have things that will combat that. Again, I'll get into that a little later, but I just say all that to say as an example of the amount of services and products and whatnot that was out there that will not only just make running fun, but just aid us as a runner. So yeah, like, I was pleasantly surprised. I had no idea it was going to be like this. I was like, it was just so overwhelming, but like in the best way. And you just didn't know. You just wanted to stop everywhere. You wanted to see everything. You wanted to hear everyone's blurb. You just wanted to talk to everybody. And one of the biggest things is like just knowing their why. When you figure that out and talk to them further, it's amazing. And it was, again, I always say I'm going to echo this throughout. It was just amazing to be a part of. What about you?
Amen. No, 100%. It's cool to be kind of on the ground level, kind of looking around the corner, seeing where the industry's at. And like you said, it's so much more than just product. I think to me, the most fulfilling part of TRE is like connecting with the people behind the brands and like those relationships that formed were really special. And I think as we go through, coverage of the year, like you're going to see these people again, and just having that human connection laid down at TRE was pretty neat. I really enjoyed. Here I am, pictured talking with North Face and like learning so much about like their offerings in the running shoe space. I really didn't know too much. I thought North Face was mainly expeditioning, but it turns out they have a really robust set of trail running shoes. That's something I'm trying to get into in 2025. I've heard I really have to check out trail running and just, seeing where they're innovating. And I think that's across the board. I mean, we spoke with all the big players, the Nikes, the Ons, New Balance, et cetera. And definitely stay tuned for that. I mean, we captured a lot of conversations and are going to be excited to share that with folks over the coming weeks. But for me, it was just a great learning experience, a great peek around the corner, and just a way to connect with the people that are part of this industry. But yeah, we stayed busy, that's for sure. I mean, I think you look at our tracker, it seemed like every 30 minutes for the entire day, we had somebody on the floor, getting the scoop, connecting with folks. And so it was impressive. And I definitely was very proud of like how we were able to show up Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And what I definitely appreciated as well was just the networking opportunities, not only professionally but socially. Because even after that day on Wednesday, we were all able to go to the cookout, and it just was it again the sense of community. It was amazing. It was fun. It was nice to see people and like a human like element where they didn't have to, I guess, be kind of hoity toity behind their boots. So it was
Right.
definitely something nice to be a part of for sure.
Yeah.
But
You touched on a good point there, and that was something I wanted to figure a way to mention. That it was like all the after hours kind of
mhm.
social opportunities that were put on. Honestly, some of the greatest highlights. And I'd love to hear more about your experience at the cookout, because I didn't make it because I was planning to race the next morning and shoot the cross champs. But I heard it was the best event of the week. On
Yeah.
my end, I went. New Balance did live karaoke, fully backed band, and it was an opportunity for folks from New Balance, but also from all across the industry to come and have fun together. And then, to me, my favorite event of the year, the Brooks Party, was the final night. But I literally can't stop talking about it. They bring in Y'all Out Boy to do early 2000s covers, and it's a fun time, and it like you said, it gets people kind of out of the super formal setting. And I think that's really a lot of the connection happens, is having fun together in a place like that. But tell me about the cookout, because my friends were telling me that was like the event.
Yeah, that was my favorite event of the week. Again, never been to TRE, so didn't know what to expect. But again, so the cookout was thrown by RIDC, which stands for the Running Industry Diversity Coalition. And it was, I don't know any other word to describe it but poppin'. It was so fun, Johnny. Like the
Yeah,
DJ was
love it.
amazing. The food was really good. The venue was perfect. It was like a rooftop, outdoorsy, indoorsy type of thing. So it wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold, which tends to sometimes be a issue with like certain parties. So that was really fun. The people, everyone was just so ready to have a good time. Like it wasn't one of those things where people were just kind of standing up against the wall. Everyone was just like letting loose, having a good time. If you didn't know somebody, they were just going to say hi. They were going to introduce themselves. They were going to share a drink with you. And just if you didn't know anyone, there was a good amount of people who went by themselves. They would bring you to their group. So again, a huge sense of community, a huge sense of togetherness. And again, it just really did just exemplify what running is about. It's so like inclusive to everybody.
Mhm.
So I think RIDC did an amazing job, and I'm so excited for the events they have coming forward because, yeah, Johnny, you missed a good one. I really wish you were able to come.
Next year, I'll lock it in.
Yes, I'm gonna hold you
But
to that too.
hey, I will be there 100%. And I'm curious from your perspective, something I experienced was like, as we're talking to people, telling them about what we do, like from a FloTrack perspective, I certainly felt a lot of pride and just excitement about the team and how we were engaging with the community. Did you feel, this was your first time, and we're both pretty new to the job? Like, what was that like as you were networking and talking about what FloTrack's doing?
It definitely was. I'll echo what you're saying. There was a huge sense of pride. I am so happy to be a part of this team and to be doing what we're doing because it really is super fun. When we were on TRE Live, you mentioned something about, doing this job is so cool, and what makes it even better is you get to do it with your friends. Like you're talking about what you love with the people that you love, and it's something that still seems surreal to say out loud because like, oh wow, this is my job. It's so nice to be able to really flex that creative muscle and do it within the track and running world. So it just was something that it felt nice to say. They'd be like, "Oh, Nia, so what do you do with FloTrack?" I'm like, "Well, since you're asking,
Yeah.
we do it all. We're on camera, behind the scenes. We're creating things for social. We're enhancing the perspective and the viewership of the running community, the fans. And, I can't wait until us as a team were able to even expand the fandom even further. Track and field, running, cross country, trail running, all of it is just such a beautiful thing, and it comes in so many different shapes and sizes, encompasses all different types of people. So to tell people, yeah, this is what I do, it was really nice. And then to even learn further our involvement in literally everything, because we had our hands in literally everything. Again, how could you not feel prideful about that?
No, well, I'm excited about 2025. It's going to be a big year.
It is. It is.
Well, I think for me, from my perspective and what you were doing, I think one of the coolest things to see was the following morning, that Thursday morning. I guess you would call it the last day of the expo, and that was the Sound Running Cross Champs. I think this was your first time hosting a live broadcast. Is that right?
It was. It was so fun. I was so nervous, but it literally was something that once I had the mic in my hand and I had the producers on my side and talking to me, all the nerves just went away because again, we're talking to our friends about something that we love. And
Yep.
it was something nice to see. It definitely was also comforting having you there. There not only as a runner, but as a photographer and just capturing content. So it was nice, like a huge sense of togetherness. The whole broadcast was super cool. And before I even get any further into that, because there's a bunch of storylines from Cross Champs, you ran it.
Oh,
How
sure.
was it?
Hey, well, like we said, we weren't getting the most sleep, but like, how often do you get a chance to hop in a classic cross country race, a 5K? So I was a little bit sleep deprived, but I had put my shoes on and said we're gonna give it a go, and so I had a blast just running around the field. I ran about a 17:30, which per mile was about my marathon pace, but like I think the experience was what was more fun, and having the team out there, just getting there out on the grass. Like there was a classic cross country race, and I think the last time was probably 5 or 6 years, maybe since back at UVA, like since I was towing the line in a cross race. So I just tried to take it in and enjoy it, and I appreciated all the love and support. So it was a good time.
That race was so special. I can't explain the amount of energy that I've seen. The people had their and bells and whistles on the side cheering you guys on through every loop. I think I even saw a mascot running through there. So I know you were talking
Squirrel.
about a squirrel, sorry, running past there. How could you explain the energy running? Because again, I say like it was such a special event, and it's definitely different than your typical 5K. When you were running
Yeah.
through each loop, obviously it's not like a New York City marathon or anything like that. The seriousness of it isn't that high, but the atmosphere was so different. Can
Yeah.
you just explain like the nuances of that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for those who haven't run cross country, like there's a lot of cool aspects of it. Like starting out, you all start out in a big line together, and the gun goes off, and there's this mad rush. I highly encourage you to check the NCAA cross country recap and just see what that's like. The sea of people all going full speed to get in a good position, and then it's just you're on your toes. Like there's never like a dull moment. Twists and turns the whole way. In this particular race, it was 3 1 mile loops, and so you definitely stayed on your toes. There's a lot of cool parts. You're running past, like we're on a military base, and so they had these fighter jets and all these sorts of military vehicles along the course, kind of as display pieces, not active vehicles, but literally having a fighter jet that you're running past was pretty incredible. And yeah, you just got to be engaged with all the turns, and like I kind of think of it like every time you pass the crowd in the start line, there's like, you kind of get this resurgence of energy. And so, um, you definitely pick it up. And so there's that cool component. And then you get the back end where you kind of got to focus up and think about your positioning and your pace. And that's what makes it cool. And they even had some hay bales in there, classic cross country. So it was a great time, and we'll have to get you out there next year.
I might do it. I might do it. Don't hold me to it, but I might do it.
Yeah.
So as we talk about cross champs, let's talk about some of the pro races. For the women's race, Emily Venters ended up winning. For the men, Edwin Kurgat ended up winning. And both of them ran super gutsy races in their own way. Emily from wire to wire, very much so a convincing and commanding type of victory. Edwin kept the leader in striking distance, and then within the last loop, he was running and gunning. So,
Yep.
from your vantage point, what did you think made these two stand out?
Yeah, well, like you said, very different races, both very fun to watch for different reasons. I mean, Emily just puts on a master class. Like, she didn't even leave it to chance. Like, I think from the very first lap, put a sizable gap on the field, and it was a deep field. I mean, we had Wayne Kaladi and NAZ Elite, and given folks are at different points in their seasons, and I don't know exactly where everybody was, but like, it definitely spoke for itself that Emily's in great shape. She's had a great season so far. I got to see her in New York just a couple weeks ago in the 5K championships. So she's on a roll, and like, this clearly showed that and demonstrated it. It takes a lot of guts to run wire to wire. Like, you have to be very confident in your abilities. And yeah, it was very impressive to see. And then on Edwin's side, a different story. Like, for those who didn't know, but last year he got runner up, and that being so close to victory and not being able to pull it off, I know can be a tough feeling to work through. And so I was happy to see him come back this year, and make it a good race to the finish. Like, that's what you love to see. And so I know you spoke with him. I think you spoke with both, but like, how'd your conversations go with them, after the races?
Yeah, Emily was very much so happy to do this. I found out that 10 days prior to, she actually had COVID. She was recovering from that.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But she did say nonetheless she had a bit of a battery in her back after running the 5K in New York City a few weeks back, and she did a pretty good job. So all of this was just something that was going to forecast her indoor season, and she made it abundantly clear that this is something that wasn't stopping her, this as in COVID. So again, gutsy run for a gutsy runner. And so I definitely expected nothing less. On Edwin's side, he was, testing his fitness, seeing where he was going. He definitely had also a battery in his bag after, to your point, coming second last year. He came here with the mission. The mission was to win. And I think that's what makes Cross Champ so fun. So many different athletes, pro and for the ones in the Indy, they had different missions and protocols and goals. Some of them came in here with a very strict strategy that they want to come in with, such as PRing. There were some people who wanted to come in, test their fitness level, but then there was others who just wanted to come and have fun. Edwin, I spoke with him in the press conference the day before, and he was saying to me, yeah, I'm trying to have short-term memory. I was an Olympian, but this isn't going to be something that I go into this race thinking like I'm an Olympian, I'm better, da 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 da. So he definitely made sure he took a huge slice of humble pie, because you are only as good as your last race. So admirable performances from both runners.
yeah, amen. Well, it was a lot of fun for both of us. I think a great way to start Thursday. I think we kind of gave the broad strokes, but yeah, I think we both returned to the expo floor that day, continued having conversations, learning about the different brands. I had a cool opportunity to sit down and interview Josh Kerr, who's been somebody that I've worked with for many years now, and been such a joy to see his journey. But to get to sit down person to person and speak with him in this role was pretty cool. That was definitely a highlight. How about for you, second day? Any things from the expo stand out?
Anything from the expo stand out? I mean, everything stood out. Everything was just so much fun. I think being on the TRE live stage was something that was different for me. I think it was super fun. It was fun to have everyone introduced as well. But before we get into this, I do want to kind of elaborate on your conversation with Josh Kerr. How did it go? I know you've known him for some time. So was it like talking to a buddy? Like, what did you guys touch on? Anything stand out from that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Josh and I mean, literally to the start of my photo career, like 2021, because he's on the Brooks Beast, and my teammate from college, Henry Wynn, is on that team, and he was really one of the first professionals that I worked with, and obviously everybody knows his progression and his story, becoming a world champion in Budapest, silver medal in the 1500 and the Olympics, and it's just as his profile has grown, it's cool to be able to step back and just remember that we are friends and we have history, and so a lot of time I've enjoyed supporting him via the camera, and so in this new role, there's that aspect of on camera and doing some interviewing, and so to me it was a really cool moment, and we just talked about the stuff that I thought people might be interested, or like questions that have been on my mind. He's got a lot of new updates in his life, including I'm helping him launch a YouTube channel that I think is going to drop this week. First to hear it here, but yeah, building out a YouTube and just dealing with like all the new pressures and attention that comes with the achievements that he's had, and like I think he's got a really great head on his shoulders, and just digging into that, and also like we're at a new cycle, so there's 4 more years. He's signed a Grand Slam, like now you have this whole new league. He was I think he was the first or second signing to Grand Slam. So all these new questions that have popped up, and just seeing how somebody like him moves forward and continues the amazing momentum he's had. They're questions that have been on my mind, and questions I hope people will find interesting, but I really enjoyed it, and it was always great seeing him.
Nice. Oh, and we just got a FloTrack exclusive. Ooh.
Yep, stay tuned.
So definitely excited about that. We touched on it a little bit in terms of certain products and Top Gear that we saw at TRE. You could start, I could start, but there was a lot to choose from. Anything that stood out for sure for you that you will definitely be investing in?
Yeah, I mean, again, very impressed across the board. I think the bar just keeps getting raised. I was kind of more struck by stuff that I maybe didn't expect. So like I noticed with UFOs and even Roll Recovery, which is known for their rollers, both getting into the recovery shoe space. When they're typically known for other sorts of products, like I know for a fact, like I love a good recovery slide, but you can't always wear that into the office or out around town. So to see kind of more fashion forward shoe offerings coming from both of them, I'm excited to give them a try. I'm still rocking a Garmin Forerunner 245, which is probably 5 or 6 years old at this point. And Garmin, speaking with them, I learned that their maps are like fully downloaded, like no service needed. So they've mapped the entire world and shrunk it down onto your wrist. And I'm excited to give that a try at some point. Having the whole world on your wrist, and it'll help with navigation. It can make you routes depending on how many miles you want, and it'll give you turn by turn. A lot of cool stuff. And across the board, I mean, we spoke with Koros, we spoke with Sunto. Everybody's doing really impressive stuff and trying to level up like that experience for runners. I saw Tiva had some running sandals. Like we're going to try it. We're going to try them out coming soon, but just something new and different. Like, kind of sandals that are meant to be running, like that should be something interesting to try. And then some of the standards that we've maybe seen since the Olympics, but like still nonetheless incredibly neat, like the On light spray, the sprayed on super shoe that Helena Beery has been racing in. Very eager to try those out. Puma with their Nitro Elites. Puma have impressed me quite a bit. They're some of my favorite shoes to train in, and even racing. Their racers are excellent as well. They're actually what I did the cross race in. So it's cool to see the rising tide, and it's impossible to like get to all the products that impress me, but those are some that were a little different and kind of fun. How about you?
Yeah, the first thing that definitely jumped out to me was like the Wahoo heart rate monitor. Personally, whenever I'm working out, whether I'm running, doing CrossFit, maybe doing Pilates, whatever I'm doing, one of the biggest things for me is accuracy. How is my heart pumping, and how does that translate into other things with my body? So that was something that I literally jumped out to me just because of the purpose of it. And not a lot of products out there has that level of accuracy that you would like to test what's going on with you fitness wise. Another one for me was 100% the female runner safety summit that I did mention earlier in the pod. In particular,
Mm-hmm.
their running mate. They described it as Uber for running. So you
Oh,
basically you enter the app, and mind you, everything for the runners to the mate, they have an extensive background check, so it's 100% safe, and it's something that really alleviates a legitimate concern. A lot of people like to run at odd hours of the day, and you should have the affinity to do so. You should be able to do what you want as you want and not have to worry about it. But unfortunately, in today's world, we do. So that definitely helps it where you can kind of just run and focus on your pace, your distance, and all of that. And to that point, and within the app, you're talking about how fast you want to go, how long you want to go, what your fitness level is at. So they're not going to, so if you're going to run 8-minute miles for about maybe a 5K-ish distance, they will give you someone that will do so. And then you guys have a meeting spot. And just like with Uber, when you get into the car, you can also share your status with a loved one or a family member. So there's just an extra set of eyes on it and just like an extra precaution, like I call it like a seatbelt for running. So you're like just extra safe, and something I definitely appreciate because in this world, you do have to be mindful of that. So it's nice to just have like a buddy on demand, especially if you're traveling. That's something that we will be doing a lot. And sometimes if I wanted to go on a run, I'd be able to maybe call somebody up on my Running Mate app and be like, hey, I don't know the city that well, but it's 6:30 a.m. This is my running time, and I'd like to
yeah.
get in a few miles. And they're just
Wow.
kind of available on demand. So it's something that I actually found to be really cool and something that I found to be especially helpful that I definitely will be taking advantage of in the future. And something else that really stuck out to me that so me and Ryan was able to talk on TRE Live with Drew Whitcomb, and he is the founder of Wear Test, and it's a site, they're fully remote, that tests different sneakers for different sports. He said to us that he really liked the Brooks Glycerin Max, and they kind of really got the formula down for runners in terms of the style of the shoe, in terms of what the shoe does, the protection, the bounce that it gives. And something that he mentioned was just how it's just stylistically pleasing. People want to look fresh when they're running. People want to look good when they're running. People kind of want eyes on them when they're running. They want to attract people and be like, hey, what do you have on there? What's going on there? And he said Brooks really got it down packed with that. And he also did mention that for running sneakers, he really thinks upcoming that it's going to be the year of the orange. Apparently, that has been super duper popular throughout
Wow.
all brands. And I'm not just saying that. Like, you guys know I have a lot of pride in my school, but I'm not just saying that. It's the year of the orange. So,
You're, you're- hey, it's UVA colors too. I'm here for it.
yay,
And
okay,
yeah,
good.
I'm glad Ryan could bring Drew, and he's really an expert at all things footwear. And yeah, I would agree. Brooks had sent me a pair of Glycerin Maxes a couple, at launch, I believe, and they're a regular part of my rotation. I think part of it is, yes, of course, the run experience, but they look really unique and cool. So I definitely would encourage people to give those a look. They're pretty high, so it's probably the opposite of a zero drop shoe or a minimalist shoe, but super enjoyable to run in. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. I think we're gonna give people a preview in a minute, but I did want to um, just want to touch on kind of, to me, what was the highlight of the whole TRE week, and that was our FloTrack happy hour event where we got to have all of our friends in the industry out to see our headquarters 2 blocks off from the expo. How was your experience, during the happy hour, having folks over?
Happy hour was so fun. It was super fun. It felt like when you invite all your friends over to your house to just
Yeah.
show them a good time, to make sure that everybody is taken care of, and everyone just came in with good vibes. There wasn't a bad vibe in sight. Everyone was there with the a mission to have a good time, get to know people further. And again, I felt this huge sense of pride, like you were saying earlier, because our whole team was there, minus John. We definitely missed John. Shout out to John. So yeah, like
Fair enough.
yeah, it was really nice to just host everybody. CEO was there. He said a few words. We gave out some prizes. It was a nice time. It was a really good time. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I mean, last week was my first time in the office seeing it in the flesh, and I don't know what I expected. I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of folks probably think FloTrack's like just a website and a bunch of dispersed people, but you walk in there and it's jaw dropping. I mean, it is probably one of the best pieces of real estate in the city. I mean, as far as layout and just the thought that they've put into the space, it's a fun place. It's very cool. We got the studio, we got all the different sports spread out across two levels, and it's kind of an open. Both levels are connected by this beautiful foyer. But like, I just could not get over how cool it was, especially being 2 months on the job, that we could have our friends, from over the years in one space and kind of seeing this new chapter. And hopefully, my goal is that we can loop in a lot of these folks, as we share our love of the sport and our coverage of it. So yeah, that was fun. I mean, here we have the picture of a group of us. Hopefully every single one of those folks will get to have a touch point with FloTrack at some point. But it was just really heartwarming, to be honest. And I'm just to be able to share that space and give people a better sense of like what FloTrack and Flow Sports is about, and like what we're actually doing, and maybe better understand why both of us are actually leaving New York City, a place that we love so dearly. But like, to me, I just keep emphasizing, I'm so excited to get down there because the space and the people and the energy there is fantastic. So yeah, it was so cool having folks over, and hopefully people will continue to come and enjoy the space with us.
Yeah, to your point, definitely new beginnings are loading. It's super nice. I'm already here in Austin, been here for a few weeks now. I'm really looking forward to you joining us physically. So it'll be nice. And, you said something that jumped out in terms of like the layout of our space and just welcoming people here. It feels like let me know if I'm like reaching or not, but it felt housewarming-ish. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the word. You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it felt like. It felt like the coolest housewarming we could have thrown.
And it feels like we did everything right. Like we just designed everything right. So you definitely was like, oh, I can't wait to show you guys this. This is listen, coolest house on the block.
Yep, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And yeah, I think that it was so much fun. Well, cool. Anything we haven't touched on from the amazing week that was TRE?
I think we did touch on everything, and this is actually a really good time to segue and preview into our upcoming holiday guide.
Yep. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so me and Johnny are spearheading the holiday guide here at FloTrack. We will be talking everything track and field, everything that you should gift. Maybe gift yourself, your significant other, friend, family, whoever it may be. Get it. We're going to be giving you a huge diverse types of clothing, shoes, watches, accessories, apparel, recovery items, you name it, we're going to have it. We're going to talk about it. And it'll be something that'll check all your boxes, from performance to training, like I said, recovery. And it's going to be something to look forward to. And we're so excited for you guys to get involved.
Yeah, the holidays are here. So we've the boxes have started rolling into FloTrack HQ, and our team is busy testing and recommending and hopefully providing some clarity and some guidance for the upcoming holiday season. There's so much amazing product that is on the market that we're excited to share with you and recommend, and hopefully make 2025 a year full of wonderful runs. And I think we're gonna pivot now to focusing on that rollout, and I'd say stay tuned over the coming weeks. We're going to get that to you as soon as possible.
For sure. We're cooking up something really great for you guys, and hopefully this may be overly ambitious. I think we can spark the next running boom. I don't know about you, Johnny, but I think that's a good goal to hit coming into 2025.
You read my mind.
Perfect. Great. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll catch you guys next time on the FloTrack Pod.